Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Procrastinators Pit Stop. We have with us today Dena Paduano. She is an intuitive life coach based in Abruzzo, Italy, who offers spiritual guidance, emotional clarity, and resilience to help others overcome life's challenges. Drawing on her own experiences, encompassing 34 surgeries, 5 autoimmune conditions, and a playful anti approach, she provides genuine empathy and practical insights for personal growth. Dena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Well,
excited to
thank you
be
so
here.
Thank you so much for coming. We're excited to dig into some different topics with you. But as is customary on the show, we do like to have an icebreaker beforehand. And the question for you today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most and why?
Ooh, okay. So the cartoon character that I would probably resonate with most would be Wonder Woman. And the why is because she's strong, she's independent, she's powerful, sexy, and I really resonate with that.
I like that one. I like Wonder Woman. I think it's a good one too because she's always looking for the truth too. Right?
Yes. And literally, she doesn't really always resonate to violence, right? But when she has to, she can kick butt and take names. But she really is about like communication, teaching people things, right? The truth, like the lasso of truth, right? So it's kind of, I really do think it was before its time, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, it was really was ahead of its time.
Woman, progressive, strong, lasso of truth, getting people to communicate, getting the truth out of people, right? All of these incredible things. So what I always tell people now is that I or you or anyone else can be like Wonder Woman with those wrist things that she had when she would block bullets. And I use it to block, negative thinking. And then I always tell people when they're continually talking negative, I'm like, stop blocking your blessings with your Wonder Woman cuffs, right? And so there's just so many cool metaphorical things to it that I think is pretty powerful.
No, definitely. There are a lot of metaphors in there that we can all learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Just swinging into things now, just gently sliding into it here. What is procrastination to you, Dena? How do you define it? What does it mean to you personally?
Procrastination for me, well, it used to mean something different than it means now. Before I knew I was neurodivergent, I used to change that word of procrastination with laziness. I'm a loser. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm whatever. Then at 52, because I'm now 55, I found out that I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD. And so procrastination for me now is sometimes like I feel like there are days when I know I have to get so much done, but my brain and my mind and anything just won't do it. So like, I'll give you an example. I have been studying the Italian driver's test now for over 3 years. It has been so frustrating to me. I will do everything, including training to run a marathon before I will study for that silly little test. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but like today, instead of just doing those 2 tests that take 15 minutes for practice tests to keep practicing every day, I went and cleaned the kitchen. I vacuumed. I mopped. I did everything, and not until 4 in the afternoon. But I started to try to take that test at 10. And I did everything else. So for me, that is procrastination. It could be different for other people, but I procrastinating doing something I know that needs to be done. I don't know why it's a resistance thing. And I think that also is in connection with the neurodivergent, right? It's like, don't tell me what to do. And if you tell me I have to do something, then I'm going to avoid and procrastinate doing it.
Thank you for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. And we know that there's no silver bullet. Everybody's different, but maybe not in the case of those driving tests. But what's your secret sauce for overcoming procrastination?
I put systems in place. Okay. So what I do is I have hacks. So like every day I have 3 non-negotiables. My 3 non-negotiables are for my health. So every morning I do the infrared sauna bag. And in that same 34-minute period, I habit stack with dry brushing, meditation, and I do the red and the blue light on my face. So in 30 minutes, I can get those 4 things done, right? In the 34 minutes, I can do the meditation, the dry brushing, all of that. And I get that done. So that's a non-negotiable. There is no procrastinating with that. Even if I don't want to do it, that is my non-negotiable. If I want to procrastinate in other things, I will make deals with myself and I will put systems in place. Okay, if you do this today, then you won't have to do that tomorrow, right? Or I have these boards that I make so that I have, if I had it here, if I get decision fatigue, I have these boards in place that literally say everything I'm supposed to do on certain days without having to think, so that if I have decision fatigue or I'm tired or whatever and I don't want to think about having to do anything, I will go to that board and pick one thing at least from that board that I have to do. And so I just set myself up with things not to fail, right? Like I put systems in place because I know myself well enough to know at this point how I, Dena, work, especially figuring out how my neurodivergent brain works, right? So, and what I do is the night before, I will pick my clothes out for the next morning because I know the next morning it's super cold and this, and I don't want to get out of my bed. Then I don't want to stand and have to look through my clothes and do the stuff. So then I do all these little micro things that help me sort of lean into things so that I don't get myself in a full out procrastination day. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But that's how I do it most of the times is, I meal prep. There's this really great app. It's called Focusmate. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but it's predominantly made for neurospicy people, but it's body doubling, where a lot of us neurodivergent people can get stuff done when somebody else is there, right? So what you do is you go on this website. It's free for the first month, but after that, unlimited is only $10 a month. And you have, like we're talking now, on a video chat. And then you talk to someone and then you go, so what are you going to do today? And they're like, oh, I'm working on my thesis, or, oh, I'm meal prepping, or, oh, I'm doing yoga. And then you both mute your videos, and they have 3 different sessions, 25 minutes, 50 minutes, or 75 minutes. So for a full year, in order to create this habit stacking, I did Focusmate every single day during the week. And I treated it like a job to train myself to get up and to be accountable to someone. Because what I learned about me is I will be accountable to somebody else before I'll be accountable to myself. And that's not to put myself down. It's just that responsibility part of my AD always wants to procrastinate and avoid. But if I know I have to show up for somebody else, I will. And so that's how I started showing up for myself. And now it's been like, I don't know, 2-3 months where I don't use it as much as I used to. But if I get myself in a pinch and I can't get myself to do something, I will go on there real quick and I will make a Focusmate appointment. And right within 5 minutes, they'll match you with someone. And then you are right there. And then you're like, okay, I can get this done. And so like my niece called me the other day and she's like, I really have to clean up this pile of clothes. What's that website you were telling me about? Because she also has ADHD and she just needed someone to hold her accountable. So she was like, you would be surprised what you could get hung up in 25 minutes on. She did a 25-minute session. So it's a pretty cool thing that they created. But I know myself is that the body doubling, right? And so on that, and then on top of that, you feel like you socialize because you meet people from all over the world. And like 1 month, a couple months ago, I worked with 26 different people from 26 different countries. And so you're also, because I work at home, and so you also feel like you've got to socialize and meet people, and then you create a rapport, and then you get your favorites and you can match with your favorites. It's kind of a cool tool.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it does sound like a really good tool. And it is interesting how we can, it's almost like an innate function of most people where we can just, we can hold ourselves accountable when it's something else, but not for ourselves, which is kind of backwards to what it should be, but it's the way most of us.
Well, and it's funny, before me and my friends growing up, before we all knew we were ADHD or autistic, and they used to come over and they used to go, Dena, can you just come over and tell us what to do? And because I'm a great delegator, right? And so and we didn't realize we were body doubling back then. They just needed someone to come go, okay, pick this up, do that. Decision fatigue. Because if you have ADHD and you're looking at this huge mess, you're looking at each thing one by one that you have to do. And then by me coming over and delegating and telling them what to do, I got rid of their decision fatigue. So we were actually hacking the system before we knew it was a system, you know? And I think everyone needs to figure out what works for them and their personality, right? And I think that everyone's different, but I do think that everyone should put systems in place for procrastination. It's like a procrastination net. And I also have a very big rule. I never go more than 2 days by not doing, let's say, the sauna bag or by going on a walk, because I know for my personality, 2 days turns into 3 days, 3 days turns into 4 days, then we're at a week, and then I'm too tired to get back into everything. So also another rule of thumb is I never go more than 2 days without doing my systems.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right about having a system, no matter what that system is for you, because we just live in a world that's designed for distraction too. I mean, you have social media, you have websites, you have YouTube, you have the news. The weapon of mass distraction is what they call it, right?
Well, and think it's tell a vision, right? So they're telling you what they want you and how they want you to think. So I got rid of Netflix, Hulu, Peacock. Last week was the last of Bravo. I got rid of all the housewives because I was like, this is so distracting and it's so low vibrational now with all the arguing, the cussing, the this, that. And I was like, that suited me then, but it doesn't suit where I'm going now. And so what I have been filling that with is I went on the master class. So that's like Netflix for learning. And so I tried Gaia, wasn't into that, but masterclass is more my speed. So, and that or Italian television. So look, it took me deleting all those apps and being afraid of the news to finally start immersing myself in Italian television. So I do that. And that seems to, there was some withdrawal getting off of all of that stuff. But I will say, and especially when they did that TikTok ban, even if it was just for that 11 hours, it's not, TikTok isn't the same. And not only that, but I'm not on it as much anymore. My mental health is so much better now that I'm not consuming all of that stuff, because consuming all of that stuff would then lead me to my own narratives of fear that I would add to my head with my own experiences and things that triggered my trauma. And then what I realized is that my thoughts and my reality wasn't my own anymore. It was everything that was being thrown at me. So now I have it down to, on all social medias combined, and that's including when I post for work, an hour a day. And it's amazing how you go, wait, what am I going to do all day? And then you don't realize how distracted and how much time you consumed on those apps and on those things. And I'm just like, wow. So my rule is if I'm going to have the TV on, I'm either going to keep learning my Italian or it's going to be a podcast on YouTube, because then I'll learn in the back. So another system in place.
And I like that. And I like how you brought up that about all the distractions in mental health. And it just seems that, and I wonder what your take is on this, because I've had a few people tell me now that we live in a very fear-based world, because that is the easiest way to control someone, is through fear.
Absolutely. Well, not only that, but think about it. When you're afraid and you're stressed out and you have anxieties, you become paralyzed. You don't move. You don't do anything. You're on that continual, I like to call it the merry-go-round of the, yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if I jump off and I hurt my foot? Yeah, but what if this happens? Yeah, but what if I jump off and then I can't do the, yeah, but wait, what about yes, and I'm going to jump off so then I can go on for the rest of my life, right? Yes, and instead of yeah, but we switch it to yes, and, right? Because that's what keeps so many of us stuck for so long. And that's what they want, because they feed off that, because then we need mommy and daddy, right? The government, whoever they think they are to us, please save us from ourselves. No. How about this? How about I used to be 230 pounds, and in a 7-year span, I've been slowly releasing. 9 months ago, I was on 12 medications, and I'm going somewhere with this story, so just be patient. So then I was ill all the time. I was at specialists 3 times a week. I was so sick all the time. Now, turns out I was married to a narcissist, and I didn't even know what narcissism was until 6 years ago, right? Contributed to it. My fear of, oh my God, what if I leave and I'm in a foreign country and I don't have the money and I don't have this and I don't have that? All the stuff he told me, other people told me, the TV told me, what are you going to do if you don't have a job? Well, what are you going to do about your future? What are you going to do about all of these things were stuck in my head? The more I started to change my diet, and what I mean by that is because I had so many autoimmunes, I was getting really sick by the foods I was eating. I've been a vegetarian since I'm 20, but then I became a vegan only 5 years ago. But with that being said, think of it, all the chemicals and the stuff we're finding out that they put in our foods and everything, that keeps us in brain fog. That keeps us in addiction. That keeps us in. So what you're telling me is when I was younger, I was gaslit by my own government to be like, you have no discipline. So here, pay into our $2 billion a year diet industry to lose weight and get discipline. But let me tell you this now, right now, today, I'm 135, right? 95 pounds less. And I'm more clairvoyant, intuitive than I've ever been. And it's because it's the cleanest. I'm talking, I changed everything. There's this app, it's called Yuka, where you check and you scan barcodes for chemicals and it tells you I only use castor oil on my face, olive oil on my body. I only wash my hair with apple cider vinegar and baking soda. When I tell you I had to change anything, my body was having reactions to all of this stuff. So I was talking to my dad last night and I was talking to him about, imagine the cleaner I eat, the healthier I become, the happier I am, the more clear I am, the more motivated I am, the more on top of myself I am, the more I don't talk shit to myself about myself, the more I've been allowed to let my inner child, adult Dena, Dena, all exist at the same time, because what we were continually told is do everything you can to not feel, avoid feeling, abort mission, abort. So all of these things are to keep us stuck, not for us to evolve, right? So the clearer my mind started getting, I was like, wait a minute, I'm onto something. And then so many of my clients will see me on social media and be like, dude, you look so good and you seem so happy. Is it because of all the weight you release? And I go, no, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's because now I know how my brain works because I found out about my neurodivergence, but also now I know what I'm working with. And I know that all of that, me being controlling or me being cold or me being this or me being a procrastinator, none of it's true. It's just because I'm neurodivergent. So then that allowed me to take away all those labels and show up for myself in a different way. So I always tell people, whenever I partake in things, and I call like processed food and certain things in the matrix, whenever I partake in things in the matrix, I feel really bad the next day or the same day. I will be nauseous. I won't feel good. I'll get my IBS will flare up, like whatever it is. And so I really realized how much that affects someone like me. I'm so sensitive. In 2017, I had to stop using shampoo, and I'm here in Italy because every time I would wash my hair, I would start getting migraines. That was before we knew about these apps and the chemicals and the things, but my body was feeling this way ahead of time. I have 28 food allergies, right? So then last year I heard a podcast, and I heard this podcast say, it was like a Joe Rogan podcast with Casey Means and her brother Cal. And she said, most of us are probably on a lot of medications that we don't need. Something in me triggered. I was on 12 medications. So I started doing research, whatever, and I did it under a doctor's care and very slowly. I had advanced osteoporosis, advanced fibromyalgia, advanced rheumatoid arthritis, and advanced gout. And I have something called spondylitis. So I stopped the antidepressants slowly. This took 9 months. While I was doing all this, I bought one of those sauna infrared bags that will help get your kidneys and liver detox, all of the stuff, because you sweat so much with that, right? And I started the Joe Dispenza meditation. So those are the only things I changed because I was already eating clean. Now, I started all of that August 1st. I had only ever missed one meditation in one day, which was October 15th. And I'm telling you, I felt such withdrawals from the medication that I didn't know I was having because I had been using the sauna bag. Now, I wrote my doctor because my doctor was like, I don't understand what's going on because you're not getting all the medications you used to get, my family doctor. And I explained to him, because you need to get all these blood tests. This was a month ago. Please tell me how. I did over 100 blood tests, and I did a new mock. A mock is a bone density test for women with osteoporosis. When I got these test results, no rheumatoid arthritis or rheumatoid factors found. No gout found. No osteopenia or osteoporosis found. So how are you going to tell me? Literally, I'm not telling everyone to abort their things, but how is it that I stopped taking all medications for everything that it was supposed to be treating, and I have none of those issues? So was it the medication? Is it the mindset? Is it the sauna bag? Is I think it's all of it combined. And my ex will still, it's been a month already, and every week he'll go, yeah, but I don't understand. Your mock said, your bone density said that you were at such high risk for fracturing your bones. Like, I don't understand how you changed it. See, because here in Italy, they don't come from the metaphysical world that I grew up in LA, right? So telling them it's visualization and it's positive thinking, it doesn't compute to a lot of Italians, right? And so I think it's a combination of all of it. But then I even stopped the thyroid medication, the acid reflux medication, all of that. Then I see on another podcast that the thyroid medication I was taking, they're now finding out side effects, and that causes osteoporosis. So I think a lot of the medications I was taking, a lot of the side effects were causing other things on top of other things and masking other things. It was never treating the thing. Treating the thing with the sauna bag helps the inflammation. It supports immune system. It supports so many different things for you. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's me taking my power back. I literally got myself off the system that I've been on since I'm 21 years old. I used to deal with really high kidney stones. Every 2 months, every 6 weeks, I was making kidney stones. I never knew what a high oxalate was until I saw it on a podcast. And I'm a vegan. Every food I was eating was high in oxalates. Do you know, since I'm 21, not a nephrologist or urologist, no one ever told me what an oxalate was. They always told me my kidney stones were genetic and there was nothing I could do about it. I stopped eating the high oxalate foods. I haven't had a kidney stone since July 1st. So do you see, it was like when you're knee deep in it and you have to have a job and kids and a husband and everyone, it's so easy to procrastinate because it's so overwhelming. I love this. I like to think like this. I'm really into subtle change to get profound impact. I really feel that people need to just lean into things. Start with one thing at a time. Don't do it all at once, because once you start getting momentum and you start going, oh, well, that was easy, then let me try that. And then let me try that. And then that becomes 3 things, then 4 things, then 5 things. And then before you know it, you're a completely different person without osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis, right? And so if I weren't to take that risk on myself, I would still be on all those medications and still be doing all of those things, right? And then when you're tired and feeling weak from all those medications, then your diet is bad because you don't feel like cooking and preparing healthy foods. You don't feel like exercising. You don't feel like doing all the things you need to do. So then, of course, it keeps us stuck on the merry-go-round. So listen, I'm 55. It took me a while to get here. But once I started figuring it out and I started researching for myself, when you're in as much pain as I was in, and still I deal with the chronic pain, there isn't anything you wouldn't do to try to get out of it. And I know there's lots of women, because I work with a lot of young people with autoimmunes at very young ages, with Lyme, with lupus, with debilitating pain. And I get it. When you're in that kind of pain, the idea of diet, exercise, cleaning the house, doing all of this, it's very scary and it seems impossible. But I'll tell you this, how I started, I leaned in as I just did one Focusmate 5 days a week. And I did that for a year. And I didn't add anything else on top of that until I did that. And I literally got my body used to getting up on my own. And becoming productive, because I noticed in the morning what will happen is the decision fatigue. I'll get afraid. I'll get nervous. What should I do? Oh, that's too much work. I'm not. So then I would just stay in bed. And so what the Focusmate helped me do is it helped me train myself to get out of bed. And there would be some times where I wanted to cancel the Focusmate and I didn't. But sometimes I would still stay committed to it, but I would still sit in bed and I would tell the person I was going to do something on the computer. So I would still hold up my end of the bargain and show up so that I made myself accountable to show up. And so you got to start doing things. No one ever said it's going to be easy, but it doesn't have to be super hard either. And then what happens after that, what people don't realize is the universe just starts working for you. People start leaving your life. People start, friendships start to dissipate because you're going in different directions, right? And job things will change and family things will change and things will start changing because people don't like that I'm changing, right? Because when we met, everything was set up to where I'm servicing everyone. And I don't get mad at those people anymore. What happens is I know I've changed and I'm going in a different direction. Why would they all of a sudden want this to change when I always gave and they always took? So I'm learning because I don't want to carry negativity and all of that angst with me of like how so many people disappointed me or didn't show up for me or weren't there for me, right? But I also have to realize is that when we all met, it was under very different circumstances. And those people knew the old Dena. They don't know the need.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. There's certainly a lot of information in there to unpack. A lot of really good things. I love how you brought up, the old adage, you are what you eat, because a lot of the times it's not even a chemical component. It's your body chemically changes and it actually needs those foods. So they talk about the gut microbiome. I mean, that's a new buzz phrase that everybody's talking about
Yeah, for
the
sure.
last little bit, and how when you eat certain things, you have these different bacteria, and then the bacteria tell your brain what to eat. So they're the ones in control and not you. I also like how you mentioned that, we live more in an additive society and we should be in a subtractivist society. When we have problems, we add this and add this and add this and add this and add this until, like you said, you had 12 different medications, probably one medication to counteract the side effects of the other medication for the other stuff. So our question should be more about what we can kind of remove or focus on just one thing. Is that right?
Yeah, you lean into it, right? So it's like, I know so many people who get so overwhelmed by the idea of having to change everything. I'm not saying change everything. I'm saying pick one thing that's been bugging you the most and start shifting with that. Lean into that one thing, right? And so I made some boards in my hallway where on Mondays, I clean certain parts of my apartment. On Tuesdays, I clean other parts of my apartment. On Thursday, so that, again, decision fatigue, I just go in, look at the board, and do what it says. And then I made the boards in Italian to learn my Italian, so I have it stacked. So it's a twofer, right? But I'm accommodating me for how my brain works, right? So a lot of people don't understand, as we were always conditioned, well, that's not the way you do it. That's not the way you do this. That's not the way you do that. My kitchen, I have all the healthy food out of the cabinets, and I set my kitchen up like a vegan cafe. I wanted it like a unicorn cafe. It's like pink, and I have shelves where it's like you feel like you're at the market and you could go shopping for things. And I put anything that's like kind of naughty in the cabinets because I forget it's there. I forget that. So most days I'll be like, oh, I have no food. And there could be 4 or 5 days where I don't even look in the cabinets because that's how my brain works. Out of sight, out of mind. So you have to figure out how to hack your brain, how you know yourself. I know I can't have naughty food in the house because I know I can't be trusted with that naughty food, right? And so I think it's really important for people to start getting honest with themselves instead of gaslighting themselves about, you're such a loser, you have no discipline. Like 2021, every year I pick there's this book, it's called One Powerful Word, and you pick a word for the year. For New Year's. And then your whole year is that theme of the word. So I started this in 2021 and I decided to pick California sober. I just stopped drinking, right? And so I just stopped drinking wine. And I wanted to see how that would change my life for that whole year. I could smoke, I could do, psilocybin, something, but drinking was out of it. I haven't drank since. It changed my life in so many incredible ways. Then the next year, it was intimacy. I needed to have more intimate friendships, relationships, let people get closer to me. So anything that I would do throughout the year, I would ask myself, is this towards you being more intimate? Is this towards you showing up for yourself in that way? So then last year was powerful and this year is bold. Everything that I'm choosing to do this year is going to be bold. I'm going to make bold choices, bold moves, do bold things for myself. So for me, instead of being stuck to one specific thing, I apply it to everything so that vibrationally I can allow myself to have the freedom going, I'm going to be bold here, I'm going to be bold there, I'm going to be bold there, right? And so it catches on for someone like me because I get hyper fixated into things. And so give me a theme and I will run with it, you know?
I like how you say that, and it sort of segues into something else too. That you know, a lot of what you were talking there about those themes and theme years and visuals. A lot of people, myself included, sometimes. I mean, yeah, I'm in that same group. You know, sometimes when we want to move forward, we don't know what goals to even put. But
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned something interesting there. You had it's almost like you had a to be list rather than a to do list, and your to be list dictates what your to do list should be. Is that
Exactly. It's exactly you nailed it right on the head. I couldn't have thought of something even better. It's what I want to be, right? So what they're saying, and I've been studying metaphysics since I'm 9 because my godmother was a world-renowned psychic, right? So she used to always teach me. She used to make me record myself. Remember those old answering machines that were at the house? She would make me record myself on the phone, and how many times I would just die or I was so broke, or every boy I've ever been with cheated on me. And she's like, so is it coincidence or are you manifesting it? So it was always sort of drilled into my mind about be careful with your thoughts because they will become your reality, right? And so now what scientists are even saying more is the reason why Joe Dispenza meditation and other ones work well is because it's the feeling you get. So it's like if you go for a job interview and then you go into the parking lot and you're like, yes, I nailed that. That's the energy that helps you manifest. So you have to future think of how it's going to feel to be all those things you want, right? So then that, what you just said about me, about a list to be, that helps me vibrationally change so that all of that stuff will just be attracted to me, which is like really, really cool, right?
it's all really, really cool for sure. But I know, at least on my own journey, a lot of it has been sometimes it's scary, not so much because you don't want the good stuff. It's that you kind of have to tear down it. You went into this a little bit before how everything, you lose jobs or you lose friendships or you lose that ex that was toxic or a narcissist, but you would rather stay comfortable and miserable than be have a chance at being comfortable. But
Well, let me explain, because it's easier to be with the devil you know than the devil you don't know, right? So if we are always people are throwing fear-based things at us. No, you don't want to do that because this will happen, or what if that happens? Or so then we start doing it to ourselves, right? So that one of my favorite poems goes something like this. And the moment came when to remain tight in a bud was more painful than it was to bloom. What I've been realizing about myself is sometimes I'm that rose, right? Is where I didn't realize, because I always serviced people, and it turned out I serviced a lot of narcissistic style people, that being vulnerable is actually more painful to me and scary than being with, like, servicing the narcissist, because then I think I'm in control. But now, in order for me have to be vulnerable to want to receive love, that means I have to open myself up to be exposed and to feel all these feelings that I've never felt. And it seems that it was easier for me continually chasing something because that was the devil I knew, right? I was never enough. I was never this. No one was ever going to pick me, blah, 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 blah. But I was used to and comfortable with that story. And so what I have to learn is there is no devil I know and devil I don't know. It's choices and navigating. And while I was growing up, I don't know about you, but my mom It was a different lifetime ago, and my mom passed away in 2000, and God bless her. But when we were kids, she was abusive, a yeller, a screamer. But if something happened and we didn't have money or something, she became paralyzed, and no one in the house was allowed to move or do anything until my mom got out of that trauma response, right? So then me being neurodivergent, not realizing that I take everything literal, and then I just mask, and by masking, I mimic or copy. So what was happening is I didn't realize when I was stressed about not being able to pay my rent or not being able to do things that I was still allowed to get up, go to the gym, live my life, see my friends, go out to dinner and have fun. I didn't know this until 4 years ago. And so a lot of my life was me sitting there in fear base of like, yeah, but what if, and oh my God, and no, I can't. And it only took a pandemic, right, to force me out of that situation with my ex into moving into this apartment, which made me realize that the universe had to do things for me that I wasn't strong enough to do for myself because I was fear-mongering myself, right? And so once I was forced out of that situation, it's been 4.5 years now, and I've never been happier. Like literally, I've never been happier in my entire life. It has nothing to do with him. That's because it only took a pandemic for me to be not distracted in a town of 44,000 people, right? For me to figure out how my brain works, to start listening to podcasts, how to go in. Because what I've learned is the only way to get out of all of this emotional stuff is to go in. You have to go in and get to know what you're working with, who you are, where you are, and you have to let all parts of you exist. Baby Dena gets a voice. So on my phone, I keep, and I think this is a really great thing for people to do, is here, I'm going to show you. I keep a picture of me when I was a kid, because when I'm starting to gaslight myself, I say, she needs you now. You can't talk to her like this. You have to show up for her. So again, another system in place, right? So do you see how I put little systems in place everywhere to kind of hold a net for myself so I can keep showing up for myself? It doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. It just means that systems are in place to remind me that yes, I can feel scared shitless, but I also have to let mommy Dena show up for little Dena while Dena goes through whatever she's going through. I didn't know all of those parts were allowed to exist and maneuver at the same.
Certainly is some powerful realizations, and be nice if we didn't have to have these, I'm not going to say cataclysmic, but these, giant catalysts to force us to make a move, right? But I mean, we are creatures of comfort, and like you said, we'd rather be comfortably uncomfortable than.
For sure, but think about it, these doctors and stuff I listen and talk to. Why do a lot of people watch Law and Order before they go to bed, and that's what makes them feel comfortable and safe? The fuck? You're watching a crime show about murder and death and sexual assault and whatever. But because we're so desensitized to all the stuff that's happened around us, that once you get out of that, right? Listen, when I first came to Italy, it was like, I only came 12 years ago. It was like moving back to 1975. And my little bratty LA ass was like, oh my God, ew, no dryers here, no dishwasher. Like, get me home. Now you couldn't pay me to move back because I was finally detoxed from consumerism, capitalism, all of that stuff. It was very humbling, like very humbling. And then now once I realized it, and I live in a farming community, so they cut out the middleman, and there's this app where you get your food straight from the farmers, right? And so not only have I changed the way I consume things and the way I treat the environment, I wasn't raised, recycling I only thought was glass and newspapers, right? But in Italy, I have 5 different nights that I have to recycle things. Monday is organic, which is compost. Tuesdays is paper. Wednesdays is glass and plastic in cans. Thursdays is non-recyclable. And then Fridays is like wee-wee pads or diapers. What? Wait, all of Europe does this. So we recycle, right? But we're doing our part. But in the US, we don't recycle like that. And now I start to think going, well, that's not fair. Wait, that we're all living on the same planet, right? And then you see how so different we were taught that American exceptionalism, don't question things. We're the best. You're the best. Why would you need to learn another language when our language is the best? That was where I was coming from, right? And so I came here with a very elitist sort of attitude, and Italians didn't help. They would be like, oh my God, why would you leave America and come here? And then they would swell up my brain even more, right? And then I got knocked off that pedestal. And then getting yourself back up is where you get to decide what direction you want to take this, right? So it is up to me. At the end of the day, it's all the choices that I make. And I used to, like, they never taught us that God is inside of us and we are an extension of God. We were always taught that everything we needed to validate us was outside of who we are. A man, a job, a friend, God, whatever it may be. No one ever taught us to go inside and go, Dena, well, how do you feel? Like, does that make you feel okay? Like, are you okay with that choice? What do you want? It was always about, I never knew. No one ever taught me. It wasn't about having more stuff. You were only as good as the last newest car you had, the biggest house you had. Everything was always about getting bigger, better, and more. And in Italy, it couldn't be more polar opposite. Holidays aren't about gifts. Birthdays aren't about gifts. It's about experiences and food and sharing time together, right? And so consumerism, they don't have the money. They don't have credit like we have. So if you don't have money for things, you don't buy things. So I really started to adapt that. And now that I'm talking to you, intuitively, it makes sense to me because kind of think about it. The universe made me go back to the beginning. I was born in 69. So 1975 is just as close as how I felt. It was like the 70s. I still don't use a dryer. I don't use a microwave. And I have a dryer. I just don't use it. I've gotten used to not using it for over 10 years. And then this new apartment, there was one. I don't use a microwave, but everything is like it was in the 70s, right? But then that's when I found out that I was neurodivergent. So I had to unlearn and relearn everything. And I mean everything, from what my parents used to say, what my siblings used to say, the environments I grew up. And I had to relearn with where and who I am now and what I want to be and how I want to be. I'm always learning. I'm a seeker of information. Unlearning a lot of stuff, I'm going to tell you, it's not for the weak. It can be painful and you get mad and you release friends and last year I had to release 2 friendships of 30 years. The year before that, when I found out I was autistic and neurospicy, I lost like 4 friends. They were so angry. How dare you say that you're autistic? My sister has an autistic child and I'm so offended. And what? How is me finding out about who I am has anything to do in comparing? And we all compare pain. Well, some people have it so much worse. So what? Does that take away from the pain I'm in right now? Yeah, I get that some people have it worse, but that's gaslighting myself to not show up for myself. And so what I've been learning is that doesn't serve me. That doesn't serve who I'm trying to be, how I'm trying to show up. It's all the internal dialogue, because remember, this needs to be a safe place to live. But no one ever taught us that. And so the only place we live is in our head. So it doesn't matter what you tell me or someone else tells me. It matters the way I filter it and the way I talk to myself in my head about it. So, how many times I gaslight? I used to gaslight. You're such a loser. You're so fat. You're so this. Oh my God. No one likes you. You're never going to meet someone. Da-da-da. Oh yeah. No. So now I'm retraining, constantly retraining the inner dialogue. It's a constant thing, but now it's a lot less than it used to have to be. And there are some things that will pop up, but it's like going to the gym. It's really painful the first week you start back at the gym, but once you get into it, you start to crave it. You start to like it. You reap the rewards of it. You feel the benefits of it. You feel good. You look good. You act good. And it goes to my theory. I live by this motto until the day I die, and I've always been this way. Looking at me, you wouldn't know. I had 5 autoimmunes, only 2 now. I've had 34 surgeries, and I'm in chronic pain. I have a machine in my back and a stabilizer in my back, right? Like a cage. And I have this theory. If you look good, you feel good, you act good. So every morning, even if I don't have any clients or anything, I still get up and get ready for the day. Because the fact of the matter is that it's like you carry yourself different if you're in a pair of pants as opposed to a pair of sweats, right? If you're a female and you add lip gloss and mascara, it goes a long way. So when I look in the mirror and I'm feeling like I'm in a lot of pain, like today I looked and I was like, well, damn girl, you don't look like you're in a lot of pain, right? So it shifts my mind. It helps me change it. If I look the way that I felt, then that would contribute even more to me feeling a worse way, right? So again, I hacked my brain again. And so some of my clients will go, there really is something to your thing about you look good, you feel good, and you act good. Takes a little bit of effort, but because I know me, here's how my living in capitalism goes. 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. What do you mean you're not up and you already haven't made money by 10 o'clock on a Wednesday? Get up, get up, get up. That still is deep in my bones from how I grew up in Orange County in Los Angeles about always consumerism, productivity, capitalism. I had to read books on how to do nothing, escaping capitalism, literally to not gaslight myself that it would be a Thursday and I'm allowing myself to lay in the sun for an hour at 1 p.m, right? But what I learned was that was all of that sort of gaslighting to indoctrinate us, to sort of enslave us, to keep us stuck, right? And so I'm like, my life is, it's so much more simple, but I'm at so much more peace. My stuff doesn't own me. I own my stuff. I'm not trying to maintain all of this consumer stuff that I used to buy or whatever. It's so much easier. Life is so much more simple when you don't have all of that responsibility. I've had my same car, my smart car, for 13 years. Best car I've ever had. It's never once broken down on me. Never once. I've never had to take that car to the shop except every year I take it for servicing. Simple, 2-door, tiniest car, cheapest car ever. It's been paid off for over 8 years. Why would I go get another car and have it just sit there when I never drive? But that was the mentality I kept when I was married, going, well, I want to change the car. When are we going to change the car? Why? The car works perfect. But do you see, we can all make subtle changes that will give us profound impacts. It doesn't mean it happens overnight. But the key about doing subtle changes is that it's not so scary all at once. It doesn't take over everything all at once. It doesn't mean you stop living, you stop seeing your friends, you stop doing things. It just means that you're doing a pivot, a shift, an adjustment.
I really like that, and I like your viewpoint on that as well. Oh, Dena, this has been a great conversation, but we are coming up to the top of the time here. Is there any question you feel I should have asked but didn't ask, or anything we should have covered but didn't cover today?
No, I think that thank you for letting me talk as much as I did, because I think it's really important to have these conversations out loud to help people feel like they're not alone, and that it does take bravery to come out and admit that I wasn't always who I wanted to be. But I'm also willing to help people along the way, right? But you've got to start somewhere. People have to start. That's the key. So thank you for having these incredible conversations, right? Because we need these conversations with each other, for each other, because there are so many people that are out in the middle of the ocean without a life raft. And podcasts like this are life rafts for people.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And
Thank
just
you for
before we
having
go, what's the best way for our listeners to reach out?
Okay, so you can find me on my website is DenaPaduano.com, or on Instagram, Dena Paduano, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm an intuitive coach, Dena.
Excellent. And just to all our listeners, don't worry about grabbing a paper and pen. We are going to have that in the show notes for you, so it'll be easy for you to find. And once again, Dena, thank you so much for being on the show. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And
thank you for
just
having me.
remember,
Can I just offer, can I offer one more thing? I would like to offer your listeners a $50 off if they use the code QUEEN for a session, if they want to book a session with me.
Okay, so you've heard Dena, 50% off using the promo code QUEEN, and we'll have that in the show notes as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and just remember, if you can't find that inspiration or motivation for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that inspiration and motivation for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.
See ya.